Hello, RAP Working Group. Thank you so much for showing up today, for all the work that each of you is doing in your individual communities or with your agencies to advance the objectives of the Wildfire Risk Reduction and Asset Protection Working Group. All of you know me, Amy Bach, the Executive Director of the nonprofit United Policyholders, and I'm so grateful to have Emily Rogan, our Senior Program Officer, with me here, as well as Ben Laterno, Annie Barber, and possibly Joel Oucher, but the screen is not showing me that right now. Members of the United Policyholders staff that are every day in some way advancing the objectives of this working group, which is to facilitate as much wildfire risk reduction, defensible space, home hardening, both individual and community level as we can, as a strategy for helping people be able to stay insured, and also helping restore a competitive insurance marketplace here in California, restoring insurers' confidence that that people are really taking the risk seriously and doing what they can to reduce their own risk at their own properties and in their own communities. We are seeing some really significant progress on some fronts. We, of course, have remaining very, very significant challenges on other fronts. So, you know, on the bad news front, we talked at a couple of the last meetings about the cutting off of the BRIC grant funds and there being less money available from the federal government for risk reduction and the pressure that puts on the state programs. We talked about the challenges that while we understand that strict enforcement of Zone 0 is indicated by science and understanding of what makes it possible to save homes and prevent homes from being destroyed. The reality on the ground is that the not allowing people to have even one tree that is providing a very important shade function or that is a less you know, a less combustible type of a tree, that you know, giving some flexibility there would really increase our numbers in terms of people being able to get the wildfire prepared home certificate from IBHS and or be able to confirm that they meet the Safer from Wildfires standards. So those are a couple of the challenges that we are all, of course, facing, in addition to the everyday challenges of there being people, neighbors that just are not on board with it and don't want to do their part, and how frustrating and hard that is for a lot of you. And then, of course, money, the ongoing challenge that all of your programs have in your areas, that there's just a limited number of dollars to go around for grants and for you know, for providing tree limbing and all that sort of thing. On the good news front, we know that there has been the good news about Mercury committing to writing more homes up in Paradise after being connected with the Rebuild Paradise Foundation through this working group, and then actually going up and seeing it with their own eyes and gaining confidence. Same really great progress from CSAA. You know, just really one insurance company that is not only has Danielle Cagan, who we'll be hearing from as our second speaker today, been kind of a regular member of this working group, but CSA has done a lot of things, both sponsoring the design competition at Berkeley to model that a risk-reduced home can still look beautiful, the gravel grants up to Rebuild Paradise, and then the progress that Danielle will be reporting on, CSA's increased confidence that they can renew homes that have gone through the IBHS program. In addition to the good news we got from the California FireSafe Council, the statewide council about their vendor guide, and the organic growth of mitigation certification, inspection certification programs. So I want to give a little shout out to Fred Booker. He's on the call today. He's been a UP volunteer for many, many years. He was my super helpful pair of hands after the Atlas and Tubbs fire in Santa Rosa, where we were there with our Roadmap to Recovery program. Fred was there helping with the line, getting people signed in so they could get in and to our workshops. And he has stayed a volunteer. And last Saturday, I had the pleasure of being able to hang out with him a little bit at a wildfire preparedness event in El Cerrito that was hosted by Assemblywoman Buffy Wicks in that area, at which the local fire department was talking about a new inspection and certification program that they are running there, which is just another example of communities following, Marin's lead. Marin has been such a leader. We're going to be hearing about that in a moment from one of the people who really did a lot of the work in Marin to, to have it be a group effort in terms of risk reduction, right? To have the county doing what they could, the fire agencies do what they could, and then a lot of collaboration with the citizen-led FireSafe Marin, as well as the Marin Wildfire Authority. But we are seeing these local jurisdictions, like El Cerrito, building their own programs, which is exactly where this entire RAP working group started, was learning that fire agencies, fire departments in rural areas were innovating on their own in response to people getting dropped by their insurance companies to help those people who are getting dropped do those things that were going to restore the insurer's confidence in insuring that home. And that seed from way back, from the Governor Brown's tree mortality task force, 2016, 2017, that is the seed that is continuing to bear fruit here with this working group. So I'm just really, really, I felt very encouraged on Saturday to see, have all these people come up to our table and say, oh, we're getting our Firewise, we're going to become Firewise, here and here and here and here. And feeling that energy continuing to build. So good on all of us for bringing, some positivity to, to some pretty scary times that we're living through. So I just really appreciate, all the positive energy that people who are in this meeting are bringing in their communities in real time. So with no more further ado, although I will say one more further ado, 3 catastrophe models, wildfire models, have been approved by the Department of Insurance, which is part of the sustainable insurance strategy that insurers said they needed to be able to use these models. So that process, the wheels are turning, the models are getting approved, and we will hear at a future meeting about from some agents on who is opening up a little bit and where we're seeing some blue sky with in terms of availability and people being able to not have to go to the FAIR plan. So Bill Tyler, great friend to homeowners, especially homeowners in WUI areas, because he has been so practical and focused over many years on making his community more safe, helping with wide, sort of big scale public projects, shaded fuel breaks, all kinds of different things, including helping get a bond measure passed to finance the half of the matching grants for people to do home hardening and create defensible space. And then he's been a speaker quite a few times here at our working group, and his work has been a big inspiration for me and our team. And he recently retired, God bless him. But instead of just playing golf, he is continuing to use his skills as with FireSafe Marin. So he's gone from Novato Fire to FireSafe Marin. Bill, thank you so much for joining us today to catch us up on what's happening in your neck of the woods with FireSafe Marin and any other updates that you want to share with this very interested group.
All right. Amy, thank you so much for the very kind words in the introduction. And a lot of you are very familiar to me that are here on the RAP group. I've been a member, I think, since its inception, or very, very close to the beginning. I did drop my email address and my cell phone into the chat. So if you need to get a hold of me, happy to talk with you. And Amy and Emily and your whole team has just been such a trusted partner in all of this. And we couldn't do the things that we do. And the reason why we all come together here, there's like 61 of us today, is to share our stories and to share what's working and not working. It's been quite a transition actually, going from fire chief and working in a fire agency for 30 years to, working with a nonprofit. But this transition is really allowed me to see different perspectives of what's working and what's not working. And Amy mentioned that, we did a lot of work to try and build the coalitions that allowed us to form a joint powers authority called the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority, and to get a tax measure passed. It was a huge lift that was built over many, many years. But what I want to share with you today is that there are also other funds that are out there for all of you that are trying. This isn't meant to be an embarrassment of riches, is what I'm trying to say. It's like, we are very blessed to be able to have the funding to move forward on a lot of initiatives that we only dreamed about prior to that. But there also is, I want to just talk a little bit about what's working. And I want you to know that everything that I cover today with you and share is a resource for you in your area. And we all want to see people being successful, because it's not just what's happening here in Marin. Amy mentioned other areas, El Cerrito, but also like Berkeley, for example, and the leadership that they showed by adopting that local ordinance with Zone Zero that was more restrictive and got ahead of the state in its implementation at actually great peril, because while sort of the vision that everyone has, the big idea of survivability and insurability, everyone gets on board with that. Everyone agrees that we need that, and show me how to do that, right? But when you get into the details of what that actually means, what actions actually have to take place, then those details start to divide us. And so I want to just share a few things that are working, and maybe a little bit of inside baseball, if you will. And I'm going to stick around and answer whatever questions that you have that come up. I'll stick around. I don't know, Amy, if you want to set those up so they ask at the end of my presentation or at the very, very end, but I'll stick around and answer everyone's question, and you can email me and call me too.
Thank you. And folks, you can use the chat to post a question that you want Bill to answer, and I'll look at those so that he doesn't have to do double duty.
All right. Thank you for that. Okay, so I just want to start with that concept of survivability and insurability. Every time I go and speak, I try and use that phrase, because that will get people to nod their heads. That will get them engaged, or they want to hear what it is that you're doing that's helping them do that. And for a long time, everyone relied on the fire departments. What are they going to do? We need them to come here and tell us what to do. When we need them, we're going to pick up the phone and they're going to call, and they're going to solve the problem for us. And I pay taxes, and that's what that's for. And we've all seen time and time again that what the fire department can do well with regards to its response locally through automatic aid agreements and mutual aid agreements is phenomenal. And we really can't live without them. The reality is that the fire agencies are not going to be able to solve this problem. And as much as I like to sort of be the chief, and I could direct different activities and whatnot, when you come over into the nonprofit side, and it's those collaborations and those partnerships that get things done. And so I really want you all to think of yourselves as the firefighters that are going to solve this problem. This wildfire problem that turns into urban conflagrations cannot be solved by fire departments. They cannot be solved by firefighters on engines. even with the capabilities that, the great state of California has. We can't do it. The hero status that we give to firefighters really needs to be thought of yourself and applied to yourself. So I want you to all put on your superhero capes here, because you, the public, within all its different arrangements, are the ones that are going to solve this problem. Whether you're a property owner, whether you're an elected official or an appointed official, whether you're a realtor, whether you're a business owner, whether you're a renter, whatever, it's going to be those actions that we all take, where we live in our communities, that are going to make a difference. And I really believe in that. And I hope that can, along with the survivability and insurability, propel us forward, because sometimes, it just gets so tiring to be in roles where we're not listened to. And I can't tell you how many times I tried to hold public meetings where like less than 12 people would show up, right? And you're talking about things that are going to protect the community and save their homes. So keep at it. And I want to encourage you along the way. So let's kind of dive into some of this stuff. So now, being over as the interim executive director with FireSafe Marin, there's a few kind of things that we're really focusing on. So, and I want to just tell a quick story here. I don't know how many of you are following the Zone Zero rulemaking body in that process, but they had another meeting yesterday. They took additional public comment. I know maybe some of you had commented there. I know I saw Steve Quarles as one of the participants today. I know Steve did a lot of work in this arena and has given public testimony to his expertise on this. But they really just took additional comment, and you could feel the discomfort in the pressure, because it's sort of like tick tock. We're getting close to the deadlines. We're already past due. But there were sort of, three things that everyone is talking about. And again, this high level view of survivability and insurability, everybody agrees. But when you start getting the details about how this rulemaking is going to go, you can see just how quickly people split into their own camps. And there's sort of this following the science pathway, which IBHS has led the way, and others, NIST and different organizations that through the testing and hardening and vegetation management and all of those sorts of things. And there is a growing group of the public that understand and are embracing that. And so, I think that if you feel like your voice is not being heard in this area, is to keep showing up and keep making comments, to write the letters, to send them in, to be present and active in the space, so that they can see more and more people are getting behind these concepts. And it's not just, the fire chiefs and the propeller heads that are kind of trying to drive the science argument. I mean, it's becoming more and more obvious. And I feel like one of my jobs now is to put materials and resources and assets in front of people, get it in their hands, let them see how they can incorporate and work this into what's happening in their communities. And so we'll go over some of those things. But one of those things that is kind of a barrier that I saw even at yesterday's meeting was the concept of the aesthetic. And that is that, when I think of looking at my house over the many years that, that I've lived there, and, maybe you're in a home that your grandparents or your parents had and whatnot, the idea of changing that landscape, taking out that grandma's rose bush and all those sorts of things is really just untenable to them. They are describing the plants that are close to their home as sort of like oasis, as places that allow them to be at peace, and that it would be very traumatic for them to sort of move those things out. And they're very passionate, and they're very believable. And so this concept of the aesthetic is something that we've tried to address head on. And so I want to share with you right now. Let me go ahead and go to my shared screen here. Can everyone see this? Okay. So what this is our website, FireSafe Marin, and I want you all to, go bookmark this web page, because this is a body of work that is available to all of you, and I'll be happy to share everything that I've covered here and we can, if you want to contact me offline about how to maybe use and download some of this stuff, we're happy to talk about that. But sort of in this adapting to wildfire, this is the main page when you come on, but I'm going to scroll down here for a moment. I'll talk about some of these other things, but I want to touch on this Fire Smart Yards section. So if you go onto the website, the main page, you scroll down, you land on this, and there's a visual guide that we have created that's in both English and Spanish, and it's a flip book. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up here. And so the idea was, to try and show people that, this passive protection that Zone Zero provides can also be beautiful. And I know I've experienced that at here in Novato through our own fire stations. Every single station in Novato has gone Zone Zero, and we've pushed out the vegetation 5 feet. We've created pathways and beautiful vegetation that is taking hold over time, and it was an example to the public. And so what I found from that, just a personal story before I jump in the flip book, is I walked by the landscaping on those stations every single day. And, my idea of beauty around a garden is not what everyone else's, may be. And some people are much more focused on this. But I can tell you, once we made that transition to Zone Zero, after a very short period of time, just a couple of weeks, I no longer noticed that there was, 5 feet of non-combustible right up against the building. It just became invisible to me. And so what I began to focus on is just what was there then, and enjoyed, that. And I think the same thing is going to happen to other people as they kind of move through this. But let me go ahead and dive into this book for a second and just kind of take you through a couple of pages here. So, it's in English. So on the left-hand side is English, the right-hand side is Spanish. And we want to tell people about the importance of Zone Zero and this ignition zone. We were going to share again with them about embers and the importance of keeping this clear, but we're also going to try and inform them, landscapers, landscape architects, and residents, that they can transform their properties in beautiful ways, and they can be fire smart yards. So going further, what we cover in here is on this table of contents in English and Spanish: Zone Zero, plant spacing. We talk about mulch. We talk about tree care, privacy screening, and plant choices. So all of those things are covered here in a beautiful way. And let me sort of take you through. We describe what Zone Zero is, right? So we're providing information and definitions with examples. We are showing the types of images that you might find in like Sunset Magazine. I don't know, does Sunset Magazine even still out there, Amy? I don't even,
I
am I
think so. I
am I
think
dating
so.
myself?
No, you
So,
know what? I have let my subscription lapse, but I did.
uh-oh.
I think it's still a thing.
Yeah, and so sometimes it's hard to find, some people may say, oh, well, that's a, $3 million home there. Of course, they can afford to do whatever. It's not easy to find examples right now of a lot of Zone Zero in all different neighborhoods, but it's starting to evolve. And I would suggest to you that, when as you see these things, I think, I don't know if Jen Gooden is on today here up at the campfire, but they've done a lot of work in demonstrating this transformation of gardens and what looks beautiful. And so it is possible across many different socioeconomic classes to take some of these things and put them into play. So here's just a couple of examples of what a beautiful fire smart yard can look like under Zone Zero conditions, right? And so whether it's this the mulch covering being non-combustible, we use ignition resistance for the type of construction features, et cetera. But a lot of these things, you're not going to be able to wave a wand or afford to do everything all at once. And so I want you to think about doing these things in phases. Do what you can afford to do now and kind of work through this process, because that fire that we're all afraid of, that's happening in our own communities, that we see when we turn on the TV and every night and kind of watch that. And I know LA, for example, right now is under red flag conditions again, which is like terrifying, right? So we can do this, is what I'm saying. We can begin to transform our yards and our gardens. So here's just a couple of examples here. The use of these concrete planters with succulents and rocks, etc. beautiful. We talk about the why behind it, so important to make these clearances. We want to, talk about what's motivating. Well, insurance, reducing hazards, survivability. That's the name of the game here, right? And what are the options to make it beautiful? We talk about the pathways, the patios, trying to, create clumps of vegetation that are broken up with non-combustible areas so that fire doesn't carry directly to the structures. Examples and explanations. And then we recognize it's not just this zone zero, it's what does it look like as you go out beyond those 5 feet into that next, 30, next 100 feet. And so some other examples here of homes that you could see in any sort of suburban neighborhood that's in the greater Bay Area for sure. Um, you know, Again, beautiful. It's like I can't afford those sorts of things, but you can take concepts or elements of what you see. You can create a pathway that you put other rocks between. I mean, you can begin to make those steps in your own landscapes. Talking about just the nuts and bolts around plants, the spacing. If you're on sloped areas, the distance that's required. At when the plants mature, talking about ladder fuels and how that all works. I mean, there's not a lot of places that has all of this information all together in one place. Mulch and how important that is, the different kinds of mulch that mulch can, it's positive uses for mulch, but they can be used in other areas further away from the structure. And there's examples here. You've got the little pebbles, the stepstones, along with the composted mulches, which tend to smolder and flame less. Again, the different colors. We highlight the fact that there were a significant study was done on mulch combustibility by Steve Quarles, who's on this. So Steve, I hope you like the pictures here of the tests that we took and the findings that were published, so that published paper is available. And we really, emphasize we don't want you to use that gorilla hair mulch, that's that shredded redwood bark. We don't want you to use rubber mulches. Those are really problematic. So tree care, really mostly limbing, removing dead and downed, again, removing the ladder fuels, etc. How important it is, just showing beautiful examples of what people are doing on the right-hand side here, this sloped area up to apartment complexes where people live and the necessity to have additional clearings due to the slope. And this basically is what you'd consider a shaded fuel break. That's, these terms that people don't quite understand, we're trying to define for them and give them good examples. Again, shaded fuel break, so the trees are limbed up. And this is as you get further away from the house as well, right? We talked about homes, their trees not being necessarily a hazard to the home. And when they're clearly pruned out and removed dead and down, it's a lot less likely for embers to actually land in the trees and start the fires there when there's been good pruning. And we talk about privacy screening and how important that is for people, but it can be done in special ways that makes it far less hazardous. So some good examples here of what you can do. We talk about privacy screenings and why it's important to lower your risk, because that screening is a big deal to people, especially when they have lot lines that are close to each other. So we talk about plant choice. We want natives, pollinators, drought resistant examples. So we give beautiful examples here. And then we talk about the ones we really don't want you to have. We don't want you to have juniper. We don't want you to have cypress. We don't want you to have bamboo. And just kind of showing you examples of what it looks like. We've got terrace landscapes. So you can see how you can break up the fuel continuity with terrace and pathways, spacing plants out. And then we sort of conclude here with, it's not just your property, it's also your neighbor's property. It's what you all do in conjunction with each other and that responsibility that you need to make. And then showing some of our valued partners here on that page. So that's that. So let me stop this for a moment here. So this, I think, goes a long way towards helping people see the positive, beautiful aesthetic of a fire-safe landscape that hasn't yet been demonstrated in a lot of different ways. And so this is one of the pieces that I hope you will all take. Go to the website. I can post it in the chat when Danielle starts talking. But this is something that you can use every day to help show people that this can be beautiful and we can do this. So that was an important thing I wanted to share. The other thing, a couple of other things here, if I may. How am I doing for time, Amy?
You're fine. Just, if you can wrap up in a couple minutes, but I think we're all inspired by the content of that publication. Keep going.
Yeah, okay. So let me talk just about a couple of other things that we're doing that I think are really important. And we want to invite everyone to Ember Stomp. That's coming up on September 6th. I know Emily, I think, is going to be there, right, for Amy, and we've got some others. This is a festival. I want you to come to our website, and I want you to click on the festival so you can actually see what it's all about. Here's just kind of a little reel that runs. This is our fourth year. About over 5,000 people attend in Marin County, and we want you to come. We were just contacted by South Korea. They're sending a delegation to come to the event. They're going to be in the Bay Area for 7 days, and they didn't want to miss this, so they're going to be here as well.
That's so
We do
cool.
we do wildfire demonstrations, family entertainment, a lot of participating in agencies. We've got vendors that are there. So you can see we have at least 4 different vendors on fences. That's a highly searched topic where people want to replace their combustible attached fences. And we're going to have 4 vendors there with non-combustible, ignition resistant versions that you can see and talk to them about cost and putting those in. So just 17 days away, everybody. We want to make sure that you come there with us. Okay, another thing that's important and that is low cost for you to do in your own areas is what are called our ambassador program. And so what we've done is we've taken people initially as volunteers. These were maybe Firewise leaders or members of Firewise communities. They were some of the wildfire mitigation specialists, other local people that were really where fire safety was important. And we brought them together and we've trained them, and they do tabling events. So we get literally hundreds of requests to table, and we couldn't do that on our own with small staff. So we basically have trained over 30 people now to do these tabling exercises. And so we give them a small stipend. So this is money that you could seek on your own as a grant to create stipends. They're little Visa cards that we give them. We train them, we keep them updated quarterly, and they are a point of contact and a face for the community. And it's amazing because a lot of times people are kind of scared to go up and talk to an inspector, and they don't want to necessarily have their home looked at and all of that, but they'll go up to our ambassadors and have a conversation with them. It's kind of they see themselves there, and there's a great information exchange. And we teach our ambassadors. This acronym is called MESA. It's MESA. So meet them where they're at. So whoever's coming up to you with a complaint or a concern or a whatever, because a lot of times it's like, my neighbor is doing this. So meet them where they're at. Empathize, that's the E, empathize with what they're trying to tell you, and then focus on the solutions, because likely we have the answers to what their concerns and even what their upsets are. We can point them in the right direction. So identify what the solution is, and then a call to action for the person to implement. So we're doing these things with a purpose. And so if you think through your programs with a purpose, you'll be able to distill what's really important, and you can train people and get more and more people on board. So I think that's really key. I want to go ahead and wrap this up, Amy. There's other things. We're including an evacuation drill with our Ember Stomp. Trying to drive people to come. So this is just another flyer. This is up on our website. We're asking them to do a self-paced voluntary drill where they check in at the Ember Stomp, and then they're going to get to put a pin in a map where they came from. They're going to get a little pin that says I evacuated, and then they get to go into the event and have every question that they've ever had answered there. We've also got art contests for kids at this, and there's just these creative, fun ways, to try and enroll people in these activities. And then lastly, our Firewise communities. I think that if you don't do anything else, you've got to engage with your Firewise communities, because these are the folks that are going to make the changes. And this is not just kind of blowing smoke on this. What we found in our evaluations that we do across all homes and businesses in Marin is there's a 30% increase in hazard identification and reduction, in shipper day participation, and in volume of fuel that's reduced when a homeowner is in a Firewise neighborhood. So we're able to document and share this back. So this is another way. I remember Amy long ago, you came to me and said, hey, is this Firewise thing legit? Are they really, is this really make a difference? I'm telling you, it makes a difference. And these are the people that are going to show up in mass when you need to go before elected officials and try and get, some important ordinance passed or grant funds or something directed towards projects. These are the people that will show up and help you do this. So good on them, and I appreciate everything that they're doing. And so with that, I just want to leave you with sort of this closing thought. Again, we love our firefighters. We cannot do without them, but it's really all of you that are the heroes that are going to save the day. You, through your letter writing, through your showing up, through your reducing your risks on your own properties, working with your neighbors, that is what is needed to stop these massive wildfires from turning into urban conflagrations. It really is. The firefighters aren't going to be able to do it. They do what they do really well, but it's every single homeowner. And so I really am passionate about this and available. If you have any questions for me, if you want any of these materials, go to our website. We have a resources page. On that resources page, you can download. We've got community, we've got evaluations, we've got home and yards. All this stuff is available for you to download. Lots of videos are available. We've got fix the risk things. You can use all these things. Please use them. We want to get this stuff spread far and wide. So with that, Amy, I'm going to kick it back over to you all.
All right.
And stand by.
Great, Bill. Thank you. Very inspiring. I hope, first of all, that beautiful, that flip book is gorgeous. And I'm sure a lot of people are jealous. But hopefully they will use it as inspiration. And there is a question, but I'm going to ask that we're going to move on to Danielle, so she has a chance to talk. I will say though, since I know Joel Loucher, Team Up is on, and it's amazing that you said there's like 3 vendors that have metal fence options, which is great, because when he first flagged it as well, we got a really, where does one find a metal portion to, it was hard. And so again, like all these problems, we're innovating all the time here, and now we need to model something we didn't need to model, right? 5 zone 0. Now we need to help people find these products, and they will be coming on the market more and more, just like the trustworthy vendors that you can pay to do this stuff will be, that's a work in progress too. So thank you so much. And I really hope you have a fantastic Ember Stomp. I'm sorry I'm not going to be around to go this year, but I have been just blown away by it every other year. I know we've got Evan Sluter with us today from IBHS, and their demonstration is always so powerful. And I love all this kind of putting it all together. So with no further delay, I want to welcome our second speaker, Danielle Cagan. Danielle has also been with us previously. She is the Vice President for Consumer Sustainability and Reputation. That's a kind of a nice job title to have at CSAA Insurance Group, which is all related to AAA. And Danielle, thank you so much for everything your company is doing. Your CEO and I connected on LinkedIn, and I was like, okay, the world is changing, and I'm good with that. So talk to us. What's the latest? Thank you again for joining.
All right. Well, thank you, Amy. Thank you for your leadership and for everybody in this group. As Amy mentioned, I've been part of the group for a bit, and I've found it helpful. I've made some great connections with some of you, and really appreciate your bringing this group together. So I actually have a slide deck here that I wanted to show, and I'm not as familiar with. Are you seeing my screen now? Are you showing it yet?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead. What my goal is today is to just share a little bit of information not everybody might know about CSAA Insurance Group and our efforts around wildfire mitigation, some new initiatives that we're doing. Plan to speak quick so we save time for Q&A. I won't, because of the way I'm presenting, be able to see the questions. So Amy, Emily, somebody butt in if there's something that I should answer immediately. And if we don't get to all the questions, that's my email address, danielle.cagan@csaa.com. So about us, CSAA Insurance Group, we offer AAA insurance through AAA Northern California Club. So those of you that are in Southern California might not be as familiar with us, but we've been around for over 100 years. We've done homeowners insurance for more than 50 years, and we write about $7.6 billion premiums nationwide in 23 states. Our enduring purpose, if you ask people in our organization, what's your mission, what's your purpose, they will all be able to tell you this, which is we are here to help members and communities prevent, prepare for, and recover from life's uncertainties with care and compassion. And we want that to come through in everything that we do. And focused on climate resilience, wildfire resistance is it's a natural connection here. So it's a focus for us. We talk about it regularly in our organization and lead meetings every other week with members from across the enterprise, talking about how we can help people reduce their risk. So I'll tell you a little bit about some of the things that we have been doing. First of all, in California, we continue to write new business and we reward home mitigation. So we were among the first to offer wildfire mitigation discounts in the state of California before it was mandated. We were recently approved. Last time I came and I spoke, I said, here's our current and here's what we're filing. We recently, within the last 2 weeks, I think, got approved for new discounts in California, which is 5% automatic for Firewise, similar communities. And then instead of the focus on IBHS that you have to meet most or many of those things, we've switched to a menu of options so that there's small amounts, hopefully bringing people along in the process, like Bill mentioned earlier. Start small, start the process, and continue to build as we go. Total amount would be the 12.5% if people go all the way through to a wildfire prepared home. We are needing to verify it for the discounts, and so we're asking people to get certified inspectors to fill out a form to say that in fact this work has been done. So you may get questions in the community about a certified inspector. If any of you have questions about whether your organizations meet that, etc., feel free to reach out to me and we'll have a dialogue and discussion about it. And then also, we just recently had some discounts for wildfire mitigation approved in Nevada that we're pretty excited about. So with that, because we're a member of IBHS and we are now have discounts that are tied to IBHS certification, that should hopefully trigger availability of that program within the state of Nevada. So we're excited about that. There are a couple other things that we've been doing to recognize and reward home mitigation. There have been a small number of non-renewals that we've done for wildfire risk, and we offer to rescind or to take people back within a year if they get certified as wildfire prepared home. And we're trying to give people more notice. So we actually are reaching out by phone, doing pre-notification before letters go out. So we're having that conversation, difficult conversation, but telling people that we will be there to help and support them through the process. It applies to base or plus level. Unfortunately, however, we've seen limited participation in that. So what we're trying to do is understand why and how we can drive more participation. And I think I shared with this group before some research that we did to really understand why aren't people mitigating their home. And these were the 5 categories. You heard Bill talk earlier about aesthetics. Cost is an issue for some, perceived effort, either to do the work or to maintain, denial or resignation. I don't live in a high-risk area, or whatever's going to happen is going to happen. There's nothing I can do. And then confusion, still confusion about what they should do. They're hearing different standards from different folks. So we're trying to chip away at each of these things One thing that we have recently done is we partnered with Madronas. Some of you are familiar, and may even be on the call. I know he joins sometimes. But we've partnered so that
I did
policyholders
give him a special invitation, let him know you were going to be on, but I do not see
okay.
him today.
But we partnered with them, and so we are referring policyholders to them if they are interested in home mitigation or need assistance. We've been receiving really good reviews on that, so we're really excited about that partnership. And then we also have a special program, and I think this is what triggered Amy's outreach to me. We are collaborating right now to test messaging in 2 counties. Butte County, Sonoma County, 2 counties very familiar with wildfire risk. And we're testing 3 different versions of letters that are being sent to policyholders. We're doing it after renewal. So after they've renewed the policy, not before, because we don't want to spin people up unnecessarily. We're sending mailings, and then we're doing follow-up calls 10 days after the letter is sent. And the 3 versions of the letter, we're doing one that's informational. So just information on what you can do and how to get a wildfire prepared home designation. The second version has the information, but it also has an aerial picture of your home. The idea is to see if that helps drive responses or not. And then one that's an information, but also has an incentive. So we'll do a free remote consultation or do a credit toward an in-person evaluation. We just started in March. We're only about a third of the way through. We've got 9,000 letters to date. We plan to do about 28,000. We have made some tweaks to some of the graphics to optimize those. Initial learnings and data, and I don't want to double down too much on it because it is still early. But initially, what we're seeing is that the aerial assessment, people that receive that version are clicking more on the QR code. But the incentive is what's driving people to actually call to start the process and to learn more about the process. Not really a surprise, but we're not seeing the response overall that we would like to see. So we do think that there's a couple things, some hypothesis right now. One is that one letter is not going to do it. We're going to have to do multiple letters and maybe even a combination of the 3 that are mentioned here. So here's the information, here's the picture of your house, and here's a discount, and work in that way. But we also believe that we're probably going to need a much broader campaign around this, like massive campaign beyond what one insurance company can do. But this is something that we can control in the shorter term. As we're looking at the research, we are trying to deepen our understanding, and we're layering in behavioral science. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with behavioral science. I wasn't until recently. But it's the study of human behavior and really understanding what drives people to make collective or individual decisions or collective decisions, leveraging disciplines like psychology and sociology, anthropology, economics, etc. Because there are sometimes unconscious drivers of what people are, how they're making their decisions. So we're working to understand that through research, through focus groups, etc. And as part of that, we're looking at all of these different factors. So who do people trust? Why do they trust them? Does it resonate more talking about individual responsibility versus community? What do people think about their insurance and their role in this, etc. So that's a piece that we're doing. And for those that are interested in more about behavioral science, just to, add a little bit more to it, one thing might be optimism bias, where people are naturally focused on the things that are more positive and, less interested in thinking about the negative. Or, certain people have more credibility in the messenger effect, ostrich, that people tend to avoid things that are, unpleasant or negative. Or mimicking the ideas and actions of other people. So these are a number of factors that come into behavioral science that will be part of the research that we're doing right now. Again, it's still early, but what we're seeing, I don't think anybody would be surprised with anything on the left with why mitigation is so challenging. But I would say that priming homeowners to act what we're seeing is stronger response to using headlines and visuals that are action oriented. So instead of showing a picture of, a tree, 5 foot from a house, showing people trimming the tree. So getting that action oriented is showing some promise in some of the messaging. Less is more, making sure that really clear but concise in the way things are explained, which is a little hard sometimes with wildfire mitigation because there's a lot to it. And then providing ongoing support with tools and checklists and things like that. As Amy mentioned earlier, we did sponsor a Landscape Design Challenge in partnership with IBHS and UC Berkeley. So would encourage you, if you can use these in your community, feel free. They're on the IBHS website, or you can scan the QR code here to get access to those images. They are free of charge and can be used. And there are a couple other things that we're doing right now. Bill mentioned Ember Stomp. We're also big fans of Ember Stomp and have been participating every year since it was started. And this year, we're doing a few things a little bit differently. One is we're going to have Madronis at the booth with us. So as we have policyholders that come by that are interested, we are going to help make that connection if, in fact, they're ready to do that. We're also partnering with Bill and FireSafe Marin to do a grant. So there'll be QR codes throughout Marin Ember Stomp, and people will be able to scan and enter to win up to five $1,000 grants to start their landscaping. We're hoping that'll help drive people to Ember Stomp and help get them started in their mitigation journey. And we're also doing an email to our policyholders in the region, inviting them to come and telling them about the contest. Some other things that people may or may not be familiar with: we sponsored through SBP a fellow that was placed with After the Fire. So I don't know if some of you have worked with Valerie Brown or not, but that's a position that we helped fund for 2 years. Through this group, I had the opportunity to connect with Jen with Rebuild Paradise Foundation, and we've contributed to their program. And we have recently signed on to the WUI Data Commons, which I know was something that Nancy had presented to the group some time ago as well. So that's just a highlight of some of the things that we're doing. Again, this is me, my contact information, connect on LinkedIn, my cell phone's here, my email, etc., and happy to answer any questions. Hopefully we have a couple minutes left.
Thank you so much, Danielle.
Sure.
We are very inspired by your your company's focus and your company's willingness to not just apply behavioral science, but try different things, get feedback, evaluate, and understand, okay, if we didn't get the extent of the response, we didn't get the number of people that we thought we would, like, let's dig deeper on why and what we might do differently. So we appreciate that. We certainly we certainly appreciate all the connections. There was one question, let's see, two actually. There's one from Carrie. My question relates to SoCal Topanga 90290. We're a designated Firewise community and have been since 2021. Are you writing policies in this area? Carrie with the Topanga Town Council. I don't know if you are comfortable answering that.
Yeah, I can't speak to that area specifically because our insurance is sold through AAA Northern California. So I'm pretty sure Topanga, in LA County, that's all Southern California. But so I can't answer if AAA down in Southern California is writing there right now, unfortunately.
Okay. Do you have, Scott's asking, do you have any examples of the mailer? Here in Sutter County, we're preparing for a similar project, sending out a letter to homeowners in our most wildfire prone areas to introduce it. Would love to learn from your approach. Examples of the mailer. Oh, that actual letter, the letter that I sent you that came from Annie, I think, a friend of Annie's on our team.
Yeah, I'd be happy. Reach out and let's coordinate for sure.
Great. All right. Any other questions for Danielle? We are actually almost right at time. Any questions for Chief Tyler or Danielle? Last chance. Um, Neil Peterson, I agree. This wrap session is gold. And we really are so grateful to everybody who showed up. I think, we're always interested to hear from the working group in terms of what more they want to hear. We are bringing back a lot of people that have been speakers to sort of, okay, tell us, either the end of the story or where, the continuation of the story. So, Ivan O'Neill was a presenter. He was one of the very, very early entrepreneurs looking to be that business that you can call and knows how to do the, get you to the wildfire prepared home, certification level. So it's really interesting that you guys are giving him a try. And we certainly hope to hear more positive results there. So we will probably, we heard from the statewide FireSafe Council about their vendor list. And I've been described many times as a result-oriented person. So I look at these nuts and bolts obstacles, like where do I get a metal section of gate? And who can I call if I can't limb my own trees? And, so we are helping answer those questions as a group here, and seeing some people, who are filling in those gaps. We have longtime friends. There's a lot of people not on the call today, though, that have been in this for a while. Our friends at Brandguard Vent, Kelly and Kelly Berklampus. Those guys have been, doing their thing for a long time, selling the right size mesh screens. Stephen, it looks like you have your hand up. We've got a minute here to answer.
Yeah, can you hear me? Here's the question. I put it on there, but I've noticed I did lots of work on my yard to get all the zone 0, but when I look at the picture in Google Map or on Zillow, it's still with my house surrounded by a jungle. Is there any way of getting some more feedback besides, like, a recognition or a notice that you got a house that, to try and drive some community interest in what people have done by giving non-monetary rewards or attaboys or something like that to homes that do things?
Let me see if I get the question. So you're frustrated because from the sky, it still looks like you're surrounded by trees. Did I kind of boil it down?
Right. From the street, it still looks like it was a decade ago, like a jungle surrounding my house. In fact, it is a decade-old picture. And I know some people get new pictures.
Oh, okay. I got you. Okay. So you're asking about the aerial images, and it's very interesting because I picked up on that from Danielle's presentation. United Policyholders has been advancing a model law to try to get states around the country to adopt it that would give you the ability to get that your insurance company, if they're gonna, if they send you a non-renewal notice, if it's based on aerial images, that they have to give you copies of those images. And one of the fights in the negotiations, and we're not anywhere close to being to the finish line, has been, we said the pictures, they shouldn't be using pictures that are older than 12 months because things change, and the insurers, I shouldn't say the insurers, the lobbyists for the trade associations that are in the mix pushed back and said, oh, well, 24 months should be fine. And we don't agree with that. So this is already an issue. Another thing that some of the lobbyists pushed back on was, oh, well, it's too hard for us to provide those images. And automatically, and that the homeowners should have to ask for it. And the problem there is, of course, when people get here in California, you have 75 days. The insurer has to notify you 75 days before they're going to non-renew. In many, many states, it's only 30 days. So if you have to ask for the images and then they get them to you, by the time you even know what the problem might be, you're done. So I'm just curious, and I don't want to put you on the spot, Danielle, because we're so grateful to have an insurance company be willing to talk with us. Any thoughts about all that?
Yeah, a few thoughts. One is I have no idea how Google does their maps as they drive around and stuff, so we can't necessarily control that. But in terms of aerial imagery, one of the sayings that we have in our organization is the best image is the one that a policyholder sends in. So even if it is dated, even if the, you know, the day that you, whatever day the image is taken, the day after you do the mitigation, we always encourage policyholders to send in, you know, current information and images, and we will review those and make decisions based on the current information.
Okay. And then do you actually, again, trying not to put you on the spot, but there's if, do you send your customers the images automatic, or do you put them, you upload them to a portal where people can see them?
If people request them, we do, but it is hard because it's like at least the ones, I can't speak for the industry, but the ones that we see are like 3D that we can go in and zoom it, like we can look around. And so
Yeah.
it's not like it's a picture that I
Okay.
would take on my camera. Like,
gotcha.
so it's a little harder to give that, you know, which image, and you can't tell what you're looking at kind of
Yeah.
thing. But we try to work with our policyholders to explain and show what images that we're looking at. But again,
Clearly,
the best
you
image
are,
is the one
I,
a policyholder takes.
you clearly are trying to work with your policyholders, and we really, really recognize it, and we appreciate it. And our message, you know, all up through the chain is thank you. Thank you
Well,
so
thank
much.
you.
So both Bill and Danielle, we are so grateful for you being with us, and everybody else. Remember, if you have updates about programming in your area, please send them to Ben Letourneau so we can keep our RAP resource center updated. You know, we have the map with all the counties in the state and all that, and it's really important that you keep sending us your updates about new programs or programs that are no longer available so that we can keep that thing updated. And then if you have a topic that you really want us to cover at a future RAP meeting, please do let us know. We are so looking forward to continuing to be on this journey with all of you, and so grateful for everything that each of you are doing in whatever direction you are moving to help reduce risk and help people keep their assets protected. So that is a wrap.